Today we're going to go over how to add enemies to our game. So first thing you're going to want to do is go to the GitHub repository and clone the repository. You can do that by going to github.com, go here to code, download zip, or use the desktop application. So let's go here to where it downloads. It'll put it in your documents folder under GitHub platformer, and so here's those files reflected here. The actual game files are in here. We're going to open those in Unity. Alright, so now we're in Unity and we need to go to our game scene here. So as you can see, I already have an enemy there. We're going to make another one of those guys, but we're going to start from scratch. Let's make this other platform a little wider so we have something to work with. And so we're going to go over here to hierarchy, right click on the background and say create empty. It's going to create a new game object we'll call enemy 2. And click on that, and we're going to go over here to inspector and add component. We need a box collider, and we also need a rigid body 2D. That gives us some physics to work with. We're also going to need a sprite renderer. Now that we have that, we're going to need some sprites. So let's go online and we're going to find some sprites. I found one for the Nightborn Warrior free. It has all the different frames we'll need for the animations, and it tells us the size. This is important for setting up animations. Go back into Unity, under Art, Enemies, Nightborn, where I placed this. The PNG file is the one we're concerned with. Simply click on that and go over here in the inspector to Open Sprite Editor. Click that and it pulls it up and it shows all these different frames. By default it's going to show up like this. What we're going to do is go up here to Slice, go to Grid by Cell Size for this particular set. Because we know the cell size, we're going to just follow the instructions and go to 80 by 80 cells. You can do automatic as well, whatever you feel comfortable with, but for simplicity we're going to just do this. And once you do that, we click the slice and then we click apply. Make sure you click apply, and now we close that. If you notice there's this triangle, if you click it, it expands and shows all the different cells or frames, which we'll use for creating animations. Click back on our enemy again, and we're going to go over here to the sprite renderer, and we're going to choose our starting sprite, which will just be the first frame there. But if you notice, our guy's not really showing up. He's got an outline, but he's not there. And the issue is that his sorting layer, he's actually rendering behind the background. So we're going to say, go to here, instead of default, we're going to choose platform. So he's on the same layer as these platforms. Let's make him a little bit bigger so we can kind of recognize him. And we'll put him here. Another issue is this box collider. Because we made our cells 80 by 80, our box collider is also pretty big. So we're going to shrink that down. If you go over here to this edit collider, you can make it smaller. And we're just going to make it his size, maybe a little bit smaller, so things actually kind of collide inside there. How about that? That should work. We'll do that. Alright. Next thing we're going to do is we need to go to add component for our enemy, and we're going to add an animator. And then we're going to go to our we made an animations folder where we put all this stuff, and we're going to start there. So we need to set up some triggers to change our animations when the enemy gets, or when the player gets close, so our enemy attacks. So we're going to go here under our animations folder, and we're going to go right click on the background, say create animation controller. We'll name this enemy 2 controller. Click back on our enemy, scroll down here to animations or animator, and we're going to add that to it so we have the right triggers set up for our guy. Click on our enemy again. If we go over here to animation, nothing here yet. This is what the triggers will be set up in. So as we're selected on our guy, go up here to Window, Animation, and Animation. We need to create a new animation. We're going to just replace this one because we're going to remake it so you can see how this works for at least one of these. Under the art, under this PNG, we're going to copy the different frames we need for idle. In our case, we have 9 frames for idle. It shows on the website. So we'll go back here and we'll copy over each individual frame. It's a little tedious, but and you can change the time scales on these, but for now that should work just fine. Okay, so let's see how this game works already. And just doing that, it shows that our guy is idling. But we want to set up a trigger, so let's look here. We have our animation, and what we need is we need another animation. So we need to make an attack. So let's look at this in here and see what this looks like. Okay, well, click on your enemy and we'll try this again. So we click on your enemy, go up here to Window, Animation, Animation, and we're going to do Create New Clip. We'll call it Attack. I think we're just going to have to do it this way to make sure everything's on the same level. We'll do it the same way as the other one. I'll pause the video so you don't have to watch me click all those frames again. Alright, now that we've done that, we have our attack and our idle. I'm going to close this, go up here to Animator, and we'll try this again. Right click on the background, say Create State. Make sure we're selected on our enemy so it pulls this up. We're going to name it Attack. And set the motion. This is the animation it's going to run. We'll set it to Attack. So right click on any state and say Make Transition. It'll create a trigger from any state to our attack. Click on the actual transition itself and go down here to Conditions. Well, we don't have any conditions yet, so let's go up here to Parameters. Make sure you click up here, not Layers, Parameters. Click this plus and say Trigger. We're going to say Attack. So we'll have an attack trigger that triggers the attack animation. So when you click on the actual transition, go here to Conditions, under plus, click Attack. Now we've got our trigger set up. So everything's good to go. We just need to write some code. So let's go here back to Assets and Scripts. And we already have an enemy AI code, but instead we're going to start and create a new one. So right click on the background, say Create Mono Behavior Script. We're going to say Enemy 2 AI. Double click on that, it'll pull it open in Visual Studios. So first thing we need is Rigid Body 2D, RB. We're also going to need an animator. Oh, come on. We're also going to need a transform, and this is going to keep track of the player. we're gonna need some bools. Are we attacking them, or let's start with detect. Player detected, and are we attacking already? So we don't get stuck in a loop of constantly attacking animation over and over again. And oh yeah, we need to figure out a detection range. Let's just set that to 1. So when we're right next to him, we're gonna attack. So we're not gonna set up any damage triggers or anything else. We're simply just gonna run an animation so we can get that going. So to start, we need to set this rigid body is equal to get component rigid body 2D, and this sets the instance of those. Animator is equal to get component. And now we need to set player is equal to game object dot find. Make sure you set objects, not object, not objects. Find game object with tag. We're going to choose player. And what's important here is that we go up here in Unity and make sure that our actual guy here has the tag player. He might be untagged, so we're going to change that to player to make sure that everything's going to line up and work with our script. So if we go, we're going to go down here, we're going to create a new function. So void detect player. So if the player hasn't been rendered yet, let's just skip it. Otherwise, we're going to set float is equal to distance. We're going to use what's called vector 2D, to find the distance between 2 points. We're going to say transform, which is where our enemy is at. What is it? Location, position. And then player dot position. There we go. Now we're going to say if distance is less than or equal to our detection range, then we need to trigger something. So we need to say player detected is equal to true. Otherwise, player detected is going to be equal to false. Now we need to run the animation. So if not is attacking, set is attacking equal to true. And this is where we're not going to get into resetting it, because we'll need like a timer or something else. We're simply just going to make it trigger once when the enemy comes nearby, so you can see how this works. So is attacking, we're going to use the animator and say set trigger, and that was the trigger we set up before, attack, and that'll trigger the animation change. Go up here, make sure that we're running attack, and then for each frame on the update we're going to look to see if we've detected the player. And that should be everything we need. And we still need to go back into Unity and click on our enemy. And we need to add our script to our guy here that we just made. So let's go here and go enemy2.ai or enemy2ai. So now that's all linked up. No reference exception. Let's see what it says here. It's not set to an instance of object. Alright, well, let's ignore that for now. I'm not sure what that is. Shouldn't be causing any issues. So we just want to see if it runs the animation, and it does when we get close. So that's all you need to do to get those triggers working. Sometimes Unity likes to be stubborn and it has like some physics issue. I'm not too sure why it's giving me an error there. But anyhow, that's how you set up those triggers.